Hello, world. Welcome to Pardon the Politics Podcast, Season 1, Episode 15. I am your co-host, Jeezy, along with my partner in politics, Manny. What's good, Manny?
Man, we made it through Christmas, man.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did, man. And for those that are listening, we have a special guest today, our mastering engineer of the pod that allows us to provide you with the crisp audio that you enjoy and listen to. We have Frank joining us today. What's going on, brother?
Man, what's going on, y'all? What's going on? Glad to be here. You know, it was feels good to be here for the last pod of the year, man.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah.
We have made it this far. We've come this far by faith.
Yes, we have.
Leaning on what?
Leaning on the
Everlasting. Everlasting arm. Yeah, there we go.
Yes, indeed, man. So we are here for episode 15, and for our docket today on our details, we're just going to recap the year 2024. As we always say every episode, it has been enough content and enough things and events going on for us to talk about and share. So we're just going to go through and recap 2024. It's been a crazy year. We've seen a lot of things come and go, a lot of laughter, a lot of head scratching, a lot of just complete curveballs that have been thrown every single month that we've been here. So we're going to start with January. So in January, we had the anniversary of what you all may remember as the insurrection on the Capitol. So
2 years, man.
2 years, man. It doesn't feel like it.
It's crazy because I feel like we're going to get to the point where, you know how every time for us now, we mark it by, is it post-COVID or pre-COVID?
Yeah.
I think the political landscape, we're going to start marking it by, was it pre-insurrection or post-insurrection?
Man, it is crazy. It does not seem that it's been that long ago.
Sorry, it hasn't been 2 years. Sorry, this is way more time than that because this popped off in 2021. It's been 3 years. Sorry, my man. We in that weird part of the year, right? We're in that weird part of the year where
time doesn't exist.
Time doesn't exist in that week between Christmas and New Year's. But yeah, it's been 3 years from that, man. But to your point, geez, it feels like it just happened.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, I feel like there's been so much hurry up and waiting on the fallout from it. This year, we obviously saw more and more people had to go in front of that judge and jury and get take them charges. So yeah, I think this year started off, looking at this anniversary, and we were just like, man, this really happened. Well, hopefully nothing crazy will happen this year to make that happen again. I think that's where I was around this. I was like, well, you know what? Hopefully we won't deal with this again.
Well, I think that, what Biden has said is that he's doing the best to make sure that there is a peaceful transfer of power. And it looks to be that will be the case. I don't believe that we're going to see a mob of Democrats going up and causing an uproar on the Capitol. And to what you were saying before, Manny, there's been over 1,000 individuals that have been arrested and charged for crimes pertaining to the insurrection. And I remember where we all were when this happened. I remember us hitting the group chat. And, in hindsight now, looking back, it's in the moment, I really don't think we fully grasp what actually was going on. I still can't even believe that I actually witnessed watching this live on TV of what took place on January the 6th.
Man, yeah. I definitely don't want to cut you off, Manny. I was just going to say that, I think I'm starting to measure just certain things happening by I guess the amount of life events that we've lived through. All of us, I'm going to be 42 my next birthday, and y'all will be 40 soon. Yeah, I know, right? Kevin Hart. No, man, but no, it's for real. We have lived through so many different events, and this was just another one of those. Yeah, man, I can't believe, is this really happening? You know what I mean? That's so. I agree with G's. It's been. Yeah.
See, I was a little bit different. I wasn't as shocked that it happened. Mm-hmm. My mind was more so, what's the end game? Like, cool, we're gonna stop them from voting today. Cool, they'll vote tomorrow. Like, what are you gonna steal the box of votes?
Right.
Like what was the end game? I don't think they knew. I think this was a group of people of dogs chasing after a car. They done caught the car and got inside the Capitol, and everyone's like, because you remember from the video, everyone's like, "Ooh, let's take pictures and selfies."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Bro,
what are y'all
have
doing?
A good time like that. I'm like, y'all could have just booked a tour like everybody, every normal person. If that's what you wanted to do, you didn't have to like cause all that chaos.
Right. I know the security up there is rough sometimes, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, it ain't called for all that, and even down to, some of the documentaries that have come out surrounding January 6th, further kind of just puts even more detail into just how crazy and chaotic this event was. And
that didn't have to be.
That didn't, yeah, right. It didn't, that did not have to happen whatsoever. And, I think that it will be something from, I guess you could say from a legacy perspective, that will always be tied to Donald Trump. That this will be, I think something that will be tied to his legacy because, whether, in my opinion, whether you want to believe it or not, I definitely believe that he played a very vital role in what took place on January the 6th.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think as we head into 2025, the history around that just becomes even a little bit more muddled just because do we see a lot of these people exonerated and pardoned and having their sentences commuted in the wake of Donald Trump returning to office? Mm-hmm. Earlier this month, I would say almost definitely, he's going to free his people. But watching some of his more recent moves, I don't know. Some of these people might, be the first casualties of FAFO, the series.
Right. I was going to say, man, I think that it might be a mixture. You know what I'm saying? I think there might be those who, for the sake of him saving face with his, of course, his core loyal fan base and support group, that there might be those who, might see some pardons or some, but then there will be those who like, nah, somebody has to, be in the wreckage and, somebody has to be left behind because, I think that protocol calls for it at this point. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Man, but January came in. It came in. We were just like, we don't know. I feel like we all stepped into January kind of just like already wanting it to be November. Mm-hmm. We really just wanted to fast forward through all of this. So, could January been more chaotic? Yeah, but I think we also knew what was coming, so we kind of eased our way into the year.
Yeah. Well, I think with January 6th happening, it will be something that obviously in history books and going forward, we will always just remember the anniversary of January 6th. So
it's a thing now.
It happened. It's a thing. It's a part of our history. And to Frank's point that he said earlier, it's astonishing to me how many crazy life events that we have lived through. Like, we read, growing up in school, you read history books and you're like, man, people actually experience these things, but you see these things kind of take place over like a vast amount of time. Like, the person who may experience this one event wasn't around when this event happened, but we can say that we've been around for like 3 or 4 crazy
three major events in American history that are known by date. We've lived through. The first being July 4th, okay, Independence Day. We weren't here for that. The next really being September 11th.
Right.
Yeah.
And now the third being January 6th. Like, we just say the date and everyone knows exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah,
man. So that is wild that, when we are all good in our age and we can sit around and Lord willing our 70s and 80s, we can say, man, like we really witnessed these things, live and there's what kids are going to be reading about, our children are going to be reading about, we can say we legit remember being where we were at when that moment took place. So that's
crazy,
just wild.
man. That is so wild. It's the internet. It's the
Yeah.
internet, man. Like, to Manny's point, it's like all those dates that we can recall, there was that space or gap in time where it was like, okay, the event happened, but we may not have really, really dug into the effects or the impacts of it until years to decades later. But with everything happening in real time and social media, and it's just, man, it you almost become somewhat desensitized because you don't have a moment to process one event before 2 weeks later here comes something else.
On to the next one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Exactly. Well, we're going to keep it moving right along because we got even more events that took place. You would think that January 6th would be like the cap, the cherry on top, but there's certainly much more that went on from a domestic landscape to globally as well. So in February, we had something that happened that it was very uncommon. In February of 2024, Tucker Carlson interviewed Russian President Vladimir Putin, marking Putin's first interview with a Western journalist since the invasion of Ukraine. And for those of you who may remember, it seemed to be a bit of a reach. Now, if you remember, Carson at this time, I believe, was already let go from Fox. If I'm correct, right, Manny?
Yep, already took that L5.
So this was when I remember this happening. This was a major reach, and a lot of people did not take well to this interview, almost signaling as though Putin kind of was doing his puppet string pulling again with dabbling in Western influence. So, but yeah, that happened in February.
I mean, obviously, yeah, weighing in on Western influence, but also like, let's not forget who this is. It's Tucker Carlson. Man, is a giant ambulance chaser of conservative talking points.
Yeah.
And I remember as it came out, like Putin started making fun of him while he was talking.
Yeah.
Like, Putin wasn't taking this seriously. Just like, this
not
is
at
what
all.
you send? Okay, bet. We about to have some fun here. And I think it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We learned nothing. We got
At
nothing. Shout out to Tucker Carlson for cranking out those views for his various platforms since he got the old heave ho out of Fox. But it
did move the needle. It was like, yeah,
it didn't. How you felt about Putin before is how you felt about it afterwards. Now, would Putin have signed up for a real hard hitting interview with a journalist? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I don't want to shy away from the media interviewing people who need to be interviewed, but let's actually interview them. Let's not give them a dog and pony show for them to be able to showcase how great they are when they're actually pretty horrible.
Yeah. And if you remember, during that time, I think like Tucker had went to Russia and like stayed a week, and he was like going to like the McDonald's that was in Russia and was like, oh, this is so much better than America's McDonald's. It's like, bro, like, are you going on like a a campaign to try to, hey, if you're a conservative in America and you hate it over there and don't like all the wokeness, then move to Russia.
Well, so having McDonald's in the Middle East, that McDonald's is banging. So, like, I think we know if you take certain American staples and try them outside of the U.S. where they don't use all the artificial preservatives and whatnot, stuff probably tastes good.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And, oh, God, what's it? Anthony Bourdain. I feel like he did an episode in Russia. Like, the food looked like it's not. So, I'm like, I could be intrigued. Am I rushing to go to Russia anytime soon? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Oh, absolutely not. Nope. Nope.
I'm good on that.
Sit my happy behind right here. Look, I had an opportunity in college to go to China. 9-day trip. I remember talking to all my professors. They were like, no, it's cool. Awesome opportunity. I went to go talk to one of my last professors who was Chinese. Told him about the opportunity. I wasn't worried about this. So he was like, oh yeah, it's absolute great opportunity. You should definitely go. I'm like, cool. So what about your absence policy? He's like, oh, it's still in effect. I'm like, but I'm gonna be gone 9 days. So yeah, he's like, when you get back, your entire letter grade will be down an entire thing. He's like, but it's a great opportunity. I think you should think about it. I'm just like, sir, I just need a C in this class, and I'm already struggling. He's like, hey, life's about choices. So I did not go, but
hey, bro,
I probably at this point won't be going there either. So, bro,
No.
but Tucker.
Man, Tucker is he's a character. I will say that. But also in February, we had a special election. There was a special election on the 13th to replace a member of the House of Representatives that was expelled. And if you are not familiar who that is Republican George Santos.
Look, you say his name correctly. George stepping out Santos, because he's going to make sure that he's fresh and ready to go.
Hey, man, that dude came in on a freight train of just hot mess. Everything was just down to the lies that his family was in 9/11 to that he worked for Goldman Sachs, and even down to he was not a drag queen. When they said, okay, well, this is clearly a picture of you, he's like, no, that's not me.
And to like give the counterpoint, what Frank said earlier, it's 2024 and there's the internet. Like, how do you not think any of this was going to come up, George?
I mean, let me tell you, these people now are they have PhDs in scoping and fine-tooth combing through the internet and finding your deepest darkest secret.
After watching that show, Don't F with Cats during the pandemic.
Oh, bro.
My viewpoint on the links people will go to on the internet to find something about someone.
Yep.
You blew my mind.
And it's crazy because it's regular people. Like, these aren't people that work in like law enforcement. These are just regular people that got regular jobs that come home and like
just committed.
Armed with technology
and free time,
bro. But George is a mess, because I don't know if you remember, but he had made his way back up to the Capitol to try to support. Was it Matt Gaetz?
Yeah.
Support Matt Gaetz. So I'm like, bro, y'all two together.
Oh my goodness,
bro, y'all
dynamic duo.
Bro,
I think I saw a video a couple weeks ago. Somebody threw coffee on him outside. I think he was walking somewhere and he got some coffee thrown on him or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised he paid for that to happen.
But also,
you just can't trust George, bro.
But also, some of these TikTokers are getting wild. But yeah, I remember seeing that same video. I'm just like, y'all TikTokers got to chill too.
Yeah, that's a completely different topic.
I was about to say that's a completely different topic.
Sorry,
somebody go end up in the dirt, messing with the wrong person, trying to get off a prank,
bro.
But that was in February as well too. So George was replaced. George has not made his way back into politics. We don't know what George has going on, but George, if you'd like to share your political ambitions going forward, you can contact the pod and we'll have you on for an interview.
Have you on, man.
And you can tell, lie, say whatever you want to say, and we'll put it out there for you.
Now we gonna have jokes. So
No, come being ready for them colds to be right in front of you now.
Yes, sir. Good and hot.
Yes, sir. But that is February. So keeping it moving, we have March. And in March, on the 7th, Sweden joins NATO, which marked a significant shift in Sweden's longstanding policy on basically they for a while Sweden was like, nah, we're good.
I'm good. I got love and respect for both of you. They were trying to do the Switzerland thing without the Swiss bank thing. Like, Switzerland's able to remain free because everyone's got their money there.
Yeah.
Sweden, you ain't got that. Yep. But then I think Sweden joining NATO is a direct response of Russia hopping in Ukraine.
Yep.
So I'm not shocked by this. I think an important question regarding this of what we'll see come up in 2025. So there's a couple other countries that have their names in the batch to hop into NATO as well, and whether they will. Ukraine still wants membership. I don't think they're going to get it, but
I don't think so either.
As part of the larger trying to end the war in Russia, does that end up on the table where they're just like, hey, we're not going to admit anyone new into NATO? I don't see us going as far as doing that, but who knows, man? This is we're all guessing at this. Yeah,
just why we let things have happened.
Stranger things play out, man. That's why we let things play out.
We just let the cards fall how they fall, man. So with Sweden joining NATO in the same month, Putin won re-election for his 5th term as the president of Russia. This is just a question that I just don't have any knowledge of, but is there any type of term limits in Russia?
That is a good question. I don't know, because you remember, I remember Putin leaving very quickly.
Yeah.
For I felt like it was a term or so where he could leave and then came back. So prior to 2020, there was prior to the 2020 constitutional amendment, the president of Russia could serve 2 consecutive 6 years each, after which they were required to step down, but could return after the hiatus. So I guess technically, he could have previously, but in July 2020, they amended the Constitution was amended and it was approved through a national referendum. One of these amendments were to reset Vladimir Putin's previous terms, allowing him to run for 2 additional terms after his current term ends in 2024.
Wow.
Basically, so basically,
that ain't going nowhere.
he doesn't have to leave office until 2036.
Wow.
And see,
provided he wins his elections.
Well, he gonna win them elections because we already knew. We already know how Putin get down.
Look, I don't know. I don't know if we can say that, because you remember old boy. Well, actually, we'll probably talk about it a little. Old boy did that march on Moscow.
Oh, bro,
to try to throw him up out of there. So something like that could happen. Crazy things could happen.
You're right, bro. You're right. But he definitely won a 5th term. So, I'm sure that him and his buddy Trump will see how that relationship plays out in 2025. So, also in March, we had the U.S. Supreme Court appeared skeptical on a case concerning abortion pills, signaling potential challenges in its availability and use. And we know that this abortion pill situation, or just anything around the abortion rights, has been very tough. But when this case took place in the Supreme Court, definitely kind of shined a light on things may be turning left, that things may not be as accessible as they once were. And I think since that moment has happened, we've had some things that have changed on a statewide level to make these things available. But this certainly was something that kind of became an issue as far as where the rights for abortion would sit, especially going into election time. So, and we seen that pumped a lot during Vice President Harris's campaign about the abortion rights.
I think it was one of the cornerstones, and we'll get to it, but it's one of the cornerstones for her campaign.
Yeah,
and I think you saw the energy continuing to flow from this, and to this was always going to be messy.
Yeah,
and this just proceeded to make it messier.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard for me to kind of sit and talk about abortions not being a woman. So I'm always mindful of that. But we got to do better here.
Yeah,
we got to do better here.
And see, that's a stance that I've always had, is that it's a hard topic to discuss because it has. I'm not gonna say it doesn't have anything to do with me as a man, but I feel like I'm the least out of the matter. And I think that, and I've always said this, that I feel like women's rights needs to be championed and made and built on what women want, or what women need. It should not be based off of what I believe, because I don't have to deal with it.
Right.
To a degree, I've always been of that mindset. It does bother me that you have a legislation where predominantly ran by men make the decision for women.
Yeah.
I just don't like that, but unfortunately that's where we at, and I hope that things will get better, and that these women, what they want, what they need, that the voice they have, they'll be heard on a situation, on a matter that strictly deals with them and their health. So,
because I think the other thing that spun out of this was also, hey, is IVF going to be covered or not? Is that going? So I think now, with this, specifically around the abortion pill part, is people really started understanding, hey, it's not just this thing. Now we're calling into question all of these other things that are linked off of. I call this the prequel of FAFO 2025. Like, oh, is in vitro going to be protected? What about this? What about this? And I'm like, here we are.
And that's the thing, like when, there were like the major things that of course everybody's familiar with, but it's so layered. And once you really start peeling those layers back, a lot of people are starting to realize, oh, wait, I didn't know this was going to be impacted. I didn't know this was going to be impacted. And you may not be impacted by some of the things at the top of the, the layering. Yeah. But you give it time and you start to realize, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do have a dog in the fight when it comes to this. And so now you're seeing a lot of people, are speaking up saying, hey, I didn't know. Wait a minute. Whoa, pump the brakes. It's too late now.
Yeah.
It's too late.
That is what FAFO is. You better find out.
You're fooling around and finding out
from the top to the bottom. You better find out from the top to the bottom where you lie at on an issue, because what you could be saying no to could be saying no to what you need. Right. And if you're not careful, you fall up under that umbrella and then you're screwed. And
now you're in a pickle,
man.
Bruh, and it's a little too late once that person's been voted in, and once this has been done, it's too late. Then you can't take it back. So,
and I think that it was very clear when it comes to, and not to jump off any topics, but tariffs, just for the sake of landing. It's like, hey, a lot of people, you'd be surprised when people didn't understand just the concept of what a tariff is and how it impacts, especially like local small businesses. You know what I'm saying? And like, these individuals had no idea. All they saw was, oh, it's a way of punishing China, because that seems to be the, his platform.
That's the big shiny object.
That's the big shiny object. Okay, cool, but you really need to understand just what this really means.
As our brother Chuck said, you could tell the ones that got a C or below in economics in college. You think it sounds good, but you don't understand all the implications that come with it.
Exactly.
So, with that being said, we are now into April, moving right along, and on the 15th of April.
Well, and here's where I knew that stuff was getting ready to go off the handles. First of all, it's April 15th. It's tax day. I hate tax day. And I was like, yep, here we go. Yeah, we ramped up very slowly into the ignorance I was this year. So April is when I was like, all right, here we go. Here we go.
Yep. On the 15th of April, the trial for New York versus Donald Trump commenced, involving charges of falsifying business records related to hush money payments. So we got a treat in April where we got to see Big Don standing up at that courthouse with a news conference every day, and reports that he was falling asleep at in the courthouse.
Well, first off, Trump is old. I know we have said that on this pod, but let's start with that. He's old, so you put him in a boring courtroom where they're just reading things and there's not pictures and stuff like that.
And the heat was probably on it.
Was on, baby. Oh, bro, good and comfortable.
They ain't put any new games on his tablet, so he in there struggling. I can get why he was falling asleep.
Oh yeah.
He was in there, bro. Look, if you've ever had to go to court for like a traffic ticket or something like that, if they take a little too long, the minds will get heavy now.
Listen, as someone who almost had to do jury duty, but just the process of selection, a courtroom could not be. I mean, it's got to be one of the most boring, mundane places to sit inside. Like TV completely over dramatizes it. It's not a fun place to be.
Man, that reminds me, Frank, when I went through the selection for jury duty, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to get them every indication not to pick me, because I'm sitting here like, this ain't nothing but just a place for you to nap,
bruh." It was like
it's a sleep center.
Yep.
I have never been asked for jury duty.
Hey,
but let me tell you,
you better knock on wood. You know how your look is.
Oh no, I want to be selected, and I feel like that's why I haven't. Look, I'm gonna be there excited. I'm gonna get sent home because I'm too excited to be there for jury duty.
Yeah, they're gonna ask you those selective questions, and they go like, "Wait a minute, nope."
Yeah,
next, please excuse juror number 5. Please excuse him.
You're a little too prepared.
I spent all last night reading up on state law and everything, but I'm ready. I'm ready. This is my moment.
Boy, you get back there with you on the jury, man. You gonna get beat up. Like, they gonna be holding up the decision. Man, they be like, but I don't think. Hey, you know what? Let's take him out. Let's take him out back.
Hit him with the Dave Chappelle. I don't think you did it.
But even
if you did do it, you know what I mean?
So we went through sitting with watching Trump every day go through this hush money case that has seemed like it just wouldn't go away. Trump was doing some stuff, man, falsifying these records. We saw his sons come in. I tell you, one person we didn't see who's been staying out of the light. Ivanka Trump.
Ivanka said, "I'm done with this."
Bruh,
nope.
She don't want no problem. I think I saw Ivanka sighting a couple of days ago. Oh, when he was at the was it the Time magazine thing or whatever it was?
Okay, yep.
That was the first time I seen her with Trump like in years. She's been just kind of keeping a low profile.
I think it's because she knows her daddy and her family, her brothers are crazy. And she's like, what I'm not going to do is get sucked into this.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, she saw the writing on the wall and she got up out of Dodge. So also in April, aside from the trial, the Secretary of State reported evidence of China attempting to influence U.S. elections, raising concerns about foreign interference. So we heard before that there was the Russia, what as Trump says, the hoax. We had the Russia interference going on, and then there was some reporting by the Secretary of State that there was some possible evidence of China attempting to do the same thing. So, one thing I've never understood is why, and maybe you can elaborate on it for me, Manny, but what is the end goal for a foreign nation or a foreign country to interfere in the election of another?
That's a great question. And before I start on this, the U.S. does the same as well. You think every Middle East president or stuff hasn't get implemented without the U.S. saying something on it?
Oh, I'm sure.
So I think if you look at the goals for interference, is A, getting somebody you want in, just like everyone else, but also B, destabilization. I think one of the scariest moments probably for every country in the world was September 12th, 2021. No, I'm sorry, September 12th, 2001. Because all of the U.S. was pissed.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of our adversaries look at the U.S. and it's like, if we can keep the people at least at odds with each other, it's harder for them to go after us. We move real hard and real fast when we get on that one accord. Yeah. But I think, and if you look at a lot of countries, A, they're trying to prop up another candidate, but they really just want that destabilization.
Yeah. Man, it's so funny that, Manny, you mentioned that because, man, I got really into that show on Paramount called Lioness. And every single episode was about this very thing. Election interferences, destabilization of one, foreign country of another. And there was a scene where Morgan Freeman, who plays the Secretary of State, was speaking with the CIA director. And you mentioned about the day after 9/11, just how everything changes. And they made reference to that because GW, for all intents and purposes, was like, everybody is on alert.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And that's the champion, I guess, at that point that the country needed, which is why it was so easy to rally behind him in that moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think the point that they were getting at was that we don't have that. We don't have like the champion that, you know what I mean, that can stand up in front of the rest of the world and say, hey, look, it ain't happening. I mean, I guess, to an extent, maybe, Big Don. he but
you don't really need to be a person like that until you have something like that happen.
There you go.
And I don't think we've had a moment like that since September 11th. You had points of really strong unification right after we got Osama bin Laden. But like we very rarely have incidents that pop up that really just galvanize the U.S. public altogether. So when it does happen, everyone's like, ooh. Yeah. They kind of mad. We're gonna let them chill out for a moment. Like you see your parents fighting, and you really got to ask them to sign this permission slip so you can go on this field trip tomorrow. And like,
now's not the time.
Right time.
Yeah, this ain't the right time.
We got to give them a moment.
Yeah, you know what? I might just have to miss this field trip.
Yeah. I ain't really want to go to the zoo anyways. What would PETA say,
bruh? Well, following that, in the next month of May, on the 30th, as we've talked about already in April, Trump was convicted. New York State Supreme Court on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payments made during his 2016 presidential campaign. And I remember that I was following the trial. And I remember I was out running some errands and my wife was home. And I remember I got the notification that was like, the jury's done, like the verdict's in. And I remember like racing home and like calling my wife, like, turn on the TV. So it's on when I get there because they're about to read it. And I remember I pulled in the driveway and I was like, count one, guilty. I was like, oh, this is crazy. And when they went through all those counts and they found him guilty, I was like, I have never in my time of remembrance in life seen something like this happen.
Well, it's the first time that like we've seen a U.S. president on trial for something.
Yeah.
I like add that to the list.
Things that we've witnessed. Like I've seen a former president sitting in a courthouse and being read guilty 34 times, and I just was like, "This is just."
It's wild, man.
Yeah, it's like in hindsight, man. You say it all the time. Hindsight is 20/20, but in hindsight, looking back, it's like even in that moment, I don't think that I truly realize how insane of a moment it was. Like this isn't regular.
No.
This is not something but I think that's everything we've seen about Trump has countered that we're in unusual unfamiliar territory when it comes to these things. But 34 counts, and I believe that as of now the sentencing for that has been delayed, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I doubt that we will get a sentencing anytime between now and the next 4 years.
And see, that's the thing. Like, and maybe someone can help educate me because I aside from being a convicted felon, and still being allowed to run for the presidency, that was beyond me. But now that we're at the point of sentencing, how does that, like, how should that impact things? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand, and especially knowing that he's convicted, like, why is it So we're just going to say, oh, well, we'll let him be president for another 4 years, and then we'll circle back to the fact that he's also a convicted felon.
So I think there were a couple things that are floating around. One was around the presidential immunity concerns.
Yeah.
And I think that's been taken care of. There's been recommendations from the prosecution that it should wait to the end of term. And I agree with them on that, because let's say January 19th, we're like, hey, you need to report for 3 years in jail. So you mean to tell me that they're going to take the president of the United States, put him in, I won't say, maybe he goes to Rikers. How do you protect a sitting president in Rikers Island? How do you protect him in any jail?
Tell him not to do the crime in the first place. I mean, yeah, ain't nobody make him get what he got.
No, not at all.
Look, if I'm the head of New York corrections, I'm just like, I don't want these problems while he's still president. Yeah. So let's say something crazy happens, we hit nuclear war, or just a war in general. You got to get him out of New York. Like, who's protecting him? Like, there's a lot of questions there, and of course, it's still under appeal. But I
say lock him up, and then when we need him, go get him out like they did Hancock.
Or the Suicide Squad. Like, you got to wear like a choker with a bomb attached.
Yep. Do him like that till we need him. I mean, he ain't the president anyway. It's Elon Musk. So
that's true. That's true.
See.
So that's where I think it all ultimately landed. I think they're glad to not have to deal with this for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this is wild, because I think that's where my mind went immediately. Like, oh, he's convicted. When's he getting sentenced?
Yeah.
And I think it was at that point Trump's team got desperate. Mm-hmm. They were internally like, he's got to win this, because if he loses, this man is going to Rikers.
Yep, it's over. He gonna be with Luigi and Diddy. All right, so in June, shout out. We want to shout out Mexico on the 2nd. Mexico elected its first female president. So Mexico got it right.
Yeah,
Senora Claudia.
So Mexico has their first female president. So shout out to them, because that is major. That is pretty major, man. We're not gonna diminish that whatsoever. But also in June, we had on the 5th, the NASA astronauts departed for space. So if you're not familiar, there are 2 people that are hovering above us right now. It's been there since June the 5th.
Oh, man.
And I think we reported in the last episode that it will be up until March.
March at the earliest.
At the earliest, March of next year is the soonest that they may potentially be coming home. So when you think of when June the 5th rolls back around in 2025, and more likely they still stuck up there, just remember that they've been up there for a year at that point. That is crazy.
While only planning
to be there for 8 days.
8 days.
8 days, bro. I don't know how the space station works. I don't know if they got a wash house. I don't know if they have clotheslines. But bro, if you pack enough drawers for 8 days, and you had to keep them 8 pair of drawers for 8 months. Boy, that's rough, boy. Boy, that's rough living. I don't know if they got a Dollar Tree or a Family Dollar in space. That
you just gotta swing by the moon, let it shoot it up.
Man, listen.
Ain't enough game, Tide detergent, washing powders.
Right, and I would just be so angry, because both of them are just like, oh, cool. So in July we're gonna go do this, and in August we're gonna do a family vacation. And every time NASA called me, I got the nastiest attitude you ever seen on this side of the moon. What the hell you want?
Man.
I've got y'all want to do interviews? Cool. I'm getting on news networks and I'm going crazy.
I'm telling it all.
Y'all gonna have to come get me.
All that classified information y'all told me before I went up.
Here it is.
Release. The moment would have been turning for me when I called them and told them that I heard a knocking noise and they said, "Oh yeah, it probably ain't nothing." What you mean it ain't nothing? Oh, bro, no sir, no sir. I'm about to get real nasty up in here.
The first person I want to see as soon as I got back to Earth is the CEO of Boeing.
Oh, bro.
Because go ahead and get him a chair and get me a chair because I'm going to cuss him out for 2 hours at least.
Oh, bro. At least, bro.
At least 2 hours. I just might break to go get a sandwich and go to the bathroom, but when I come back.
Yep, you think I'm done. You hear me coming down the hall. And another thing.
Man.
So shout out to the astronauts, man.
When
y'all come back down,
Butch and Suni,
when y'all get back, if y'all want to share or air y'all grievances, contact us here at the pod. We'll give you a platform to do so, and we'll make sure that the masses hear you.
free Butch and Suni.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So in July, moving along on the 13th, we had
the Ignats.
It started getting a little sticky. Former President Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt during a campaign rally near Butler, Pennsylvania. It was the I was gonna say the shot heard around the world, but he didn't get shot. So,
well, it got his ear. It got his ear because remember the ear pillows.
Allegedly.
But I'm also like, how,
bro?
How did y'all not see him up there? How is there not already somebody on the roof, on all of the roofs in vicinity?
Bruh. And the man was like right across from him, bro. I mean,
when I first heard this, I was like, oh man, this must be a military sniper that had to be hella far away. Picked him up like, nah, this is a 12-year-old with a
slingshot.
With a slingshot. I'm like, all right, David. Secret Service, y'all dropped the ball here.
Bruh, big time. And he was only, just for information's sake, he was approximately 400 feet from the stage.
Now, Frank, you are a resident military and gun expert. Is that a far distance away?
400, you said 400 feet or 400 meters?
400 feet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty far. That's pretty far. And yeah, that's pretty far in terms of trying to get off of a shot like that.
He shot 8 rounds from an AR-15. So yeah. One of the bullets grazed his upper ear, causing minor injury. I thought that he was a lot closer to that, but 400 feet.
Yeah, 400 feet. Yeah, and in terms of, so 400 feet in terms of what you would think, in terms of like Secret Service security lockdown, is close.
Okay.
Too close for comfort. Far in terms of the average person trying to get a shot off at that. So let me make sure I clarify that.
Okay.
Because 400 feet away, and Secret Service wasn't able to lock that down, or how were you able to be that close with a sniper or assault rifle?
How'd you even get in the area?
Right. Like that.
The more that you think about it, I can see why there was such a concern with Secret Service, because if I remember correctly, this rally was outside. It was like
it was out in the field.
Out in the field. Yeah, like it wasn't like in an area that was like had a bunch of buildings and structures and stuff like. No, it was like out in the field, and there weren't many places. So I'm like, okay, well, this was probably this would have been like one of the first places that I would have definitely made sure that we had eyes on, ears on, we had everything in tune. So it was, and I think that they even said that like with the Butler police department along with the Secret Service, like I think they even were like, hey, we need to kind of keep an eye on this area, and Secret Service, whatever, we'll get over there when we get over there. And Lighter got Trump shot. Well, killed, excuse me. But yeah, that happened, and not too long after that took place, on the 21st, Joe Biden announced that he would not seek re-election, endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic candidate. And when this
Man,
moment happened, I remember we talked about it. And I remember one of the comments that I made is that with this move, Biden could have potentially given one of the biggest political alley-oops that we have ever seen. As my brother Manny always says, hindsight being 2020, this was a terrible, terrible
Terrible.
decision for Biden. First of all,
I don't know if it was a terrible decision for Biden.
well, it was a terrible decision for the entire landscape in totality.
It was, yeah. And for the Democratic Party, this was a horrible decision. But as I think we saw all this unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there were already horrible decisions already underway before this even started really capping off.
Yeah. Whoever let him open his mouth to say he was running for re-election in the first place,
should have tackled him immediately. That was the first mistake.
That was the first mistake.
It was the timing. Had the decision been made like a year or two in advance, where we had time to run the democratic process as it normally should, holding primaries and vetting, eligible, not just having, being put in a position where we have to hand it off, Yeah, it from that perspective, it was.
And Biden, as Manny has said in previous episodes, had already stated that he was only going to run one term, and that was it. I don't know whether he woke up one morning and they gave him one too many Flintstone vitamins and he felt good, or
he got that car one with the feet, got his blood pumping. That orange one.
He walked by over at Stark's Enterprise and put on the Infinity Gauntlet one time and felt that power. Thought he could do it. But this was not good. And now thinking about it, had we, to Frank's point, had we gone through the actual process of having a primary, I'm interested in I mean, we won't ever know, but I wonder who would have been the candidate or final candidates that the Democrats would have had to champion their way into the election in 2024.
It probably would have still been Kamala.
You think so?
Yeah, because even if you look at the polling that was happening right around mid-July, the only person that polled better was Michelle Obama.
Oh, okay.
And that won't go happen. That won't going to happen. Everyone else was polling behind Trump. She was the best of the remaining. Gavin Newsom wasn't doing well. Everybody else isn't doing well. So it was their best option. But this was a big fumble by the Democratic Party, as we've broken down any of our previous episodes.
Yes, we have. So with him announcing on July the 21st, just to give you an idea of how fast this thing just steamrolled. Right in August, August the 19th, it was the Democratic National Convention that took place from the 19th through the 22nd, which was held in Chicago, where they officially nominated Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate and Tim Walz as her vice president. So that just lets you know, from the time in July the 21st to Biden announcing that he wasn't going to run to the 19th, not even a month. Yeah. We were in convention mode.
But let's also, okay, so the 21st he had stepped down. I forget when that first debate between Biden and Trump was, but that had happened earlier, right after, or right around the assassination attempt.
I was about to say, I think it was maybe the week before the assassination attempt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Biden had done horrible, where everyone had realized this is a problem. So even right then, I think everyone started okay, well, this is what this would need to look like. Right. And but the 19th saw Kamala and the Minnesota Mongoose.
Yes, sir. And I remember us talking about it during the convention, how there was a massive surge of energy from the Democratic Party that took place, and we saw the Republican National Convention, and there was a day and night difference, definitely, in the layout and just the energy that went into it. And I think that people really thought that November was going to turn out in a way that was going to be favorable for the Democrats, judging by the energy. It was I watched both the conventions, and I will tell you, I enjoyed the Democratic National Convention. It had some great energy and some enthusiasm. It had some moments that really kind of drove the message home of what they were trying to establish, be it if the message was good enough or not. That's neither here nor there. But I would say that the structure of it, for them to kind of plug in Kamala Harris and roll this thing out in the way they did, it was a success from an event perspective. Now, it definitely didn't do it. That August feeling didn't translate to November, but we'll talk about that later.
And I was just going to say, that it brings up this, I think, my favorite quote, man, from UG's throughout this entire, podcast so far is, I think right after that convention, everybody got into that vehicle of hope. Mm-hmm. It was not operated correctly.
Nope.
We got driven off a cliff.
Cliff of despair.
Cliff of despair, boy. I'm telling you. Because it was wild how much energy that they were able to generate, and how that energy did not, and just a couple of months later, did not just fell flat. So
hit that Mario death music,
bro. August was probably the last month of joy that we had, and then the political landscape turned into Gotham City, and got dark.
So it actually kind of reminds me of, like, you remember, like, in the Harry Potter movies. So it's when you start with, like, the Sorcerer's Stone and then it's Chambers of Secrets, like the intro. Like, it was kind of like really light and airy, but by the time you got to the Prisoner of Azkaban,
it got dark, bro.
It got dark, bro.
Look, and by the time you got the Half-Blood Prince, bro.
Oh, bro, it's over.
All hope was lost.
All hope was lost.
All.
So, man, we got a lot that happened, but let me correct myself. There was some joy that happened after August. And I'll start with that first before I get into the bad stuff. September the 15th was the first episode of the podcast being released. So
16th, technically.
16th, technically. Okay. That was our first episode. So that was a good glimpse of joy that we were able to start this podcast in September. And we have been rocking with you guys since. So, and shout out to, first of all, Manny, hit me up, and we had already talked about this idea, but Manny hit me up and was like, I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday, was like, hey, we're going to do this podcast or what?
Right, I ain't really give you a choice. Like, hey, we're doing this podcast. Frank is doing the production. You're gonna co-host.
Yep. I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, when we gonna start? I'm thinking he was gonna say like in like 2 weeks. So he was like, we can record this Friday. I'm like, oh, like now
game time. Let's get it.
Mics are in the mail.
And for those of you that don't know, I'm a very over analytical and I overthink everything. And I remember telling like my wife, like, I don't think I'm ready for this. Like, this is moving way too fast. Like, we haven't had enough time to like lay this out. Like, I'm one of those people, I got to see everything before I'm like, all right, let's move. And Manny was like, nope, we're moving now.
And it's crazy because, like, y'all had been laying the foundation and groundwork for like years. Like with all the political discourse and back and forth y'all would have, or just random Wednesday afternoon. Easy ask a question and Manny would be like, oh, well, here's what I think about that. It was there. The foundation was there. It was just a matter of being like, all right, let's go ahead and make it happen and get it done. And
I didn't want to give us too much time to think about it, because then we both would have been over analyzing. Like, no, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do it.
There you go.
And 15 episodes later, I couldn't be more proud and happy of the job that we have been doing and the work we've laid with Frank, making us every week. It's like we get better and better and better as far as our sound, and we find our pocket, and it's a joy to be able to do this week by week. So shout out to the pod, shout out to y'all boys that we've been able to create this, and may it continue to grow and be a blessing to those that listen. So
yes, indeed.
That is September's joy. And then we go right back into some action. So we had our first presidential debate between Trump and Harris, which attracted approximately 67 million viewers. And we broke down the debate. If you haven't heard it, go listen to that episode. But Big Mala came out. That's when I had to give her the nickname Big Mala.
Big Mala.
She showed up and showed out. Trump started talking crazy.
Per usual.
And there were some head scratches and people looking like, okay, maybe, as the Manny said, maybe Trump's old. I don't know why they needed him to open his mouth for them to realize that.
And I said it on that first episode. Trump was trying to do the impossible in that first debate.
Yeah.
And that is win an argument.
Yep.
With a black woman.
Bruh.
Who is a professional attorney. What?
Yep.
Nope.
Bro, you're not going to win.
Argue for a living.
Argue for a living.
For years.
Yep.
was ranked in California literally the best arguer of legal.
Let's take away the professional side of it. She is a black woman from the Bay.
Bruh. You're not winning, bro.
Raised in a community of, I'm sure, some of the most elite trash talkers.
Oh yeah.
Arguers this side of come on, man. Come on.
Not to mention by her mother's nationality. She already was used to having to be quick witted.
There you go.
So she before she even got into a professional field, she was raised around having to defend what she was doing.
Yes, sir.
From a Trump side on this, I don't know how you prepare for that.
I don't know either, bro.
Trump, I know you don't have anyone with the closest that you could possibly even maybe make a phone call and get them to come help you is probably Condoleezza Rice. And from my understanding, she also wanted no parts of this whatsoever. And
so
how do you prepare for that?
What Tulsi Gabbard to help him? But I mean,
okay,
bro, like
okay, Tulsi.
that's still like the NFL versus like JV high school. But yeah, man, that debate took place, and this may be a coincidence because when you think about July, Trump had the debate with Biden, and then like a week later, there was an assassination attempt. For Trump, just 3 days after his debate with Harris, there was another alleged attempt of assassination at his golf course in Palm Beach. I think he needs to stay away from he won't have to worry about it again, but maybe somebody should have been like, let's not debate no more. Somehow when you get on this debate stage, people get mad and won't try to shoot
and won't try to shoot you.
But on the 15th, a 58-year-old man was arrested in Florida for trying to attempt to assassinate Trump on his golf course. Golf club in West Palm Beach, and the individual was later identified as Ryan Ruth. So, and we talked about this on one of our episodes too, man. He staked out and waited, and he didn't
10 hours or something like that,
and he didn't even get a direct shot. I wouldn't even call this an attempt. Like, now, see, if I'm Trump, now this is when I would have got cocky. I would have started talking big trash now. Like, you didn't even get a shot off. Like,
and
really?
See, like, that's how you know he didn't have the right people in his campaign, bro. Because I'm telling you, he could have really like hit the streets with, like he could have rode this, like, and I say that with all due respect.
Yeah,
he could have rode this wave until hey, the right social media person would have flipped that and put some
instead of doing what they did the first time with the ear pillows, like that was
weird.
That was
weird,
bro. Thank you, Manny.
That was weird.
That was so weird. Bro.
I mean, he already had like 50 was behind him. He could have just threw 50 a bag to use many men and use that to come out to his his campaign. And that, I'm sorry, that would have been kind of hard. I got
throwing that black and gold, throwing the black and gold MAGA hat.
Oh
my gosh, bro! Hey,
he might have got my vote.
Look, I'm not even gonna front. I remember the day that those black and gold MAGA hats dropped. And it would have been the chat. I was scratching my head like,
hey, bro, that was
clean. Man, that was clean, bro. I'm sorry, man.
That was clean, man.
That hat was clean, boy.
But the black and gold with the mini mirror, I would be like, yeah, bro,
man.
no, this is tough. This is tough. But yeah, that was his second, and which I'm going to say hopefully was the last attempt that we'll ever see of an assassination on a president. Again, another event that we have lived through, seeing it not a president or a former president try to be assassinated once, but twice, like
twice in a quarter.
Twice in a quarter, yeah.
That's insane.
That's wild.
We went from hearing about these like every 50 years or so to like twice in a month's time. It's crazy.
It's insane. So, with that being said, September still got some action packed into it. You may remember on the 17th and the 18th, there was a bit of an issue for Hezbollah. Hundreds of pagers belonging to Hezbollah exploded simultaneously across Lebanon and parts of Syria. At least 9 were killed, including, sadly, an 8-year-old girl, and more than 2,750 others were injured. Then on the next day, walkie-talkies started exploding, which killed at least 20 people and wounded 450 people. I just want to say,
insane.
I'm glad this is not the 90s and I don't have a pager. Bro, first of all, I need the shipping receipt. Where do we get these pages and walkie-talkies from?
Man.
Where did these come? That was wild. And I remember seeing the video footage, like they just got people just randomly standing. It's like, boom, half of your hip blown off.
Someone hit him with the 143 and like, what?
911.
Right. And Big Nettie, where he was just like, I don't know what happened. Thoughts and prayers.
Don't have a clue. which again, we don't know if Big Nettie was involved.
I thought they came out and said that Israel was definitely involved. I feel like they did.
I mean, it's very Big Nettie.
It is.
It's up his alley, so I mean,
it's right on par.
Look,
right.
If he didn't, I believe he did it. So I mean, hey. So, and as we know with that issue, how that war has gone up and down with Israel and Big Nettie, and we'll see in the new administration how the tension in the Middle East will either arise or subside. That will be up to them. We know that Trump and Big Nettie I think they cool again. I know they had kind of got on bad terms before, but I think they boys again. So we'll see how that plays out. And lastly, in September, we do want to acknowledge this, that on the 26th, we had one of the deadliest Atlantic hurricanes since Hurricane Maria in 2017 make landfall in Florida, and that was Hurricane Helene. And we know that due to that hurricane, there has been results of 236 deaths that have left and it has also left more than 685 people missing, including widespread devastation. And we know that there is still some things taking place as a result of that storm.
Yeah.
You may be familiar with in previous episodes, we talked about how Roy Cooper from North Carolina has gone up to the Capitol to hopefully get more funding and more aid. And we even talked about the bill that went out that included some resources and fundings to help in disaster relief, and those things are still taking place. Those things have not been completed. There's still some devastation to be worked through. So please, if you know of anything that is needed, please keep up with that stuff, man. If there's any resources, any funding, I know that there's been FEMA donations and Red Cross and all those things, but I just want to make sure that we are still aware that has not subsided, that these people are still in need of help, and everything has not been completely restored.
So. Right.
So,
right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, with that being said, we move over into October, and in October,
oh man,
we not only was it Halloween, but there was some good trick or treating going on, as New York City Mayor Eric Adams was indicted on federal charges, including bribery, fraud, and soliciting foreign campaign donations. So, he definitely had his bag ready for trick or treat.
Yep.
Oh, Eric Adams.
I still think about that one clip where he was. They had that marijuana bust or whatever. And he was standing up loud. He was like he's still smelling it like.
Bro, like who does that? Who does? Out of all the things you picked up the batch of weed and was like, let me smell this, see how good it is.
To do that in public as mayor,
we should have known.
Is wild.
Oh, we should have known right then.
Commissioner Eric Gordon.
But, he did it. I don't know what he did, but he did something because it was too fluid of emotion and just unfazedness. Like, yeah, that's
you can tell for like a hot second he forgot where he was at.
Oh yeah,
yep.
He forgot where he was at.
I think he was smelling that for quality assurance. He was.
Yes, sir. Make sure, just in case it need to get missing out of the evidence locker.
Yes, sir.
You bring that over to the mansion.
Let me make a mental note right quick.
It's like, that don't go to evidence. Go ahead and drop that off. Go ahead and give it to him. He'll dispose of it properly.
Yeah, pack that up. That one, you saw the one I sniffed. Pack that one up. Bro, but I don't know if we've had any updates on the charges that he's facing. I know that he has took a turn where he's been trying to get on the good side of Trump coming in, and Eric Holman. He's trying to get a little buddy with the new administration. So maybe he's hoping that will help him out in the charges that he is facing. So with that being said, we keep right on going into November, and we were
nothing happened in November. Nothing happened.
Well, a lot happened to me. I was saying,
this was our Half-Blood Prince moment right here.
Yep. When Voldemort came out there, Harry Potter is dead, and all the people standing on them rocks and stuff after fighting. This is how I felt. So on the 5th, the United States held its presidential election on November the 5th with Donald Trump defeating Kamala Harris, marking his historical political comeback. And boy, if I stated on the podcast and I've shared, I had to take me a day afterwards, bro. I was hurt.
Right.
I got right in that passenger seat of that vehicle of hope, thinking we were going to a nice paradise, a nice destination of happiness, and we drove right to a log cabin of despair.
Look, I knew it on that live when I run the map. I remember seeing your face change while we were on the live, and I was like, oh yeah. Oh, Jesus, not doing well.
Man. I was hurt, bro. I did not take it well at all, bro.
It was the realization, in the moment, and I guess maybe in the days after the election, we had that moment where we were like, oh man, we just really underestimated the power of the people. You know what I'm saying? Who just subscribed and supported him. We underestimated that. And then I know we also got to the point where we then turned into, well, what happened internally? Like, where did the Harris campaign drop the ball? And we obviously, you all covered that as well. And it was just like, man, like when it left me feeling like, oh, well, this was like one of them damned if you do, damned if you don't type situations, man. Like, what else is there? And
I think I had told y'all this earlier in the year, and I'll continue to say it. National elections, when you're especially looking at the presidency, are decided on by one demographic of voters historically, and will continue to likely be that demographic, and that is white women.
Yeah.
We know we're white males going to vote conservative. Most minority groups, largely at least 50%, are going Democrat. We know where the youth are going, but it is the white women group that it's always in question. And they've decided every single election, and we saw them do the same here.
Yeah, it was
white women. We trusted you, and you let us down.
Man, it was really different walking around some of these places and offices and businesses. I imagine a couple days after election, but man, that's something.
Yeah, man. It was.
You can't forget the blue bracelets.
Bruh.
Oh man.
Y'all got on a Zoom call and y'all lied.
You lied.
You lied about your support. You raised money for no reason.
Like that, like one meme of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. Stop lying.
Stop lying.
Lying.
Bro, it was, but in hindsight, now, if Harris had won, then we wouldn't be blessed with the sitcom of FAFO that we are about to experience, because the first season hasn't even started yet. And people already are like,
oh yeah, we're still grabbing it, going through the trailer.
Yeah, it's a couple pilots, kind of floating around right now. Kind of testing the water to see just which one is going to stick. But we there. We are there.
But I think these people starting to realize, like, might have made a mistake. I might have made a mistake.
Oh, that's what this button does. Oh,
yep. That's what you wanted. That's what you got. So, with that being said, we are in the final month of 2024, which is December. And in December, we covered it where the South Korean president declared martial law.
And his government said, no, the hell you don't.
No, you don't. I don't know. You can make a call, but you better not make that one.
Bruh.
You made the wrong call today.
I mean,
that was not received well at all, and we reported it in the last episode that since making that call, old buddy gone too.
Got the old ho.
Got him up out of here. Get out of here.
Don't let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you.
Bruh, exactly. Bruh, that was too hilarious. And since then, like we've said, he has been removed. His own party actually
you gotta go.
Vote and said he's got to go. Try to help him save face. He won't trying to hear it. So he also wanted a piece of FAFO. Yep. And he got a good bit of it. So the last event the last thing that I want to mention in December is a recent report that came out. There was a recent poll revealed that 2/3 of U.S. adults are tuning out political news, highlighting a trend in political fatigue in the country. And I point this poll out for this reason. While this report states that 2/3 of adults are tuning out political news, in that climate that we're in, we've seen our podcast be able to thrive. Our community is growing. We're reaching more people than we have before. So while this poll is stating that there's political fatigue, we can tell that we've been able to be blessed to be able to reach people, and people actually care to listen and tune in to what we have to say. And with that being said, I want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you to our followers. Thank you to our listeners, because
for sure
that political fatigue could affect us, right? We could see a decline in our listens and a decline in our community, but we've been blessed to be able to continue to grow, and that is only off the strength of what you guys have done, in spite of social media hiatuses and being locked up,
man.
on the social media scene.
Man, I tell you, and I want to point out, G's, I think it might be fatigue from those who are paid and who do it professionally and who have some kind of stake in it, to where you might feel like, well, I mean, you're on these major networks, so of course, there's only but so much you can say or do, right?
Yeah.
But I also feel like, for the most part, it's the fatigue is only, it's like we're experiencing that, that lull, that roller coaster of emotions still probably. But for those who have tuned into this podcast, you know what kind of content you're getting. You're getting it from the perspective of everyday people who are just living lives, going to work, but we digest it in a way that makes the most sense to us in a way that we can translate that back.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
For that reason, it's like there's a difference in what nationally a lot of people might be experiencing versus those who have, tuned into the pod. And again, we thank y'all for giving us that feedback for sure.
And heading into 2025, we got a, not only with this pod, we got other projects you guys will start hearing more about throughout the year, not only from the Pardon Politics crew, but also the LXI family. So we're excited about everything that us and our extended, friends and counter brothers will also be releasing to you guys next year. So really big, really, really excited about what's next, not only for us here at the pod, but just for everyone in general and our listeners. We want to hear about your successes too. We consider this one giant family. So please continue, like, share, follow, tell your friends. You got critiques of us, like, hey, why don't y'all cover this? Please do that. We love all the feedback and definitely appreciate the love across the board. And again, I want to thank GZ, both you and Frank, for joining me on this journey.
Yes, indeed, man. Hey, listen.
Man. It has been a joy. And as we always say here at the pod, if nobody loves you, just know us here at Pardon the Politics.
We love you.
We love you. Happy New Year. We are excited for 2025. May there be an abundance of blessings through the journeys, the ups and the downs. Just remember to always keep your head up, and no matter what, you have a community here that supports you. So hey, we don't just talk about politics. We are a family. We have a tremendous bond, and hey, if you ever need anything or have anything you want to share with the boys, if you just want to say, hey, what's up, hit us up, let us know. We love you, and we thank you for tuning in. So with that being said, guys, y'all good? All hearts and minds clear?
Good to go, man.
Good to go. We'll see you guys in 2025.
All right. See you later.